So, welcome. We have been eagerly trying to get back to having everybody in place, having our monthly meetings once again at the LEPC, and and just having all of our stakeholders and partners in place to have the opportunity to have a presentation or just to talk about things that we have done or what we are looking to do, and anything that anybody else wishes to pass along as well. We'll talk about our presenter in a few minutes, but Kim asked me to just try and give a quick rundown of what we have been doing in the past year. So I think our last meeting at the LEPC was in January before the great pandemic. So we haven't had an opportunity to have everybody here, and I don't even think we've done a Zoom or anything like that. We do a lot of Zoom like everybody else with other agencies and other in our regional partners at the county, and MEMA as well, and I'll kind of mention that. But other than that, we have been active. So I did want to, just to kind of go over a few things, and again, to just let everybody know that, that things continue to evolve with the EOC and with our emergency preparedness in town. I want to extend my thanks to Kim once again for doing all the administrative activities. She keeps everything in line for us and prompts us to take action here or there to try and keep us, going on the right path of looking at different activities that we need to kind of hone in on. So it's, without Kim, we wouldn't be here today. So that's a fact. Boyd's part of that too, but Boyd's a fixture. Again, also our community partners that we have, especially, we have a great, partnership with our brothers down the street in public safety. Our communications administrator, Chris Campbell, has been helping with us. Also, the Harbor Master's Office over the summer. So we work kind of, diligently with them just for emergencies and just, in discussions on, post-emergencies and such. And it's very beneficial for us to keep, preparing for the next issue that comes our way. Other community partners, our CERT partners have been very helpful, and they've been very active of late. And again, with Kim's oversight and assistance with them, we've been getting a lot accomplished with CERT, and that's going to continue. So again, we have a very strong commitment for many in the community. And again, I can't thank everybody enough. So over the past year, I just wanted to go over a couple of things that we have done in notable activities. But the one is that's near and dear to everybody's heart is the pandemic, and in the emergency preparedness also, kind of corresponded with the immunization clinics that were being conducted out at the fairgrounds in conjunction with the CERT members as well. But we worked with the local health agent in the county as well to support their activities out at the fairgrounds. It was a big undertaking. They had a lot of people in and out of there. There was lots of discussion. The police were very active with crowd or traffic control. We were trying to support with emergency medical services if they needed it. And it was a big undertaking, and it was something that differed only because of how they were moving everybody in and out of there that was qualified to, for lack of a better term, to get the immunizations and such. But there was a lot of discussion that had to be undertaken before that could be done, and it worked out very well. And as time went on, it just kind of waned off to the point where we don't see the immunization clinics out there, anyways. But that was part of our battle during that time. Again, we continue to have strong efforts, with maintaining our connection with the regional county side of things. We work with Sean O'Brien, and he's been very active with providing us information and emails, if that's rather than Zoom, just to kind of keep us informed of what's going on. And that includes also our partners at MEMA, and one of our bigger partners as well, which we have a lot more activity with, is Eversource. And we have Rooney from Eversource, who reaches out to us all the time on an educational assist, and also just for support as we prepare for storms. So that's evolved over the years as well, because we used to have a lot of problems with trying getting the resources in town for power restoration, but trying to be connected on knowing the times when power restoration was going to take place. Also, critical infrastructure concerns, mainly the hospital, the nursing homes, the schools, especially the schools because of shelter. So they have been very instrumental in, giving us a little less angst when it came to understanding, when we were going to be able to start getting answers to the community for power restoration. So Eversource has been a very big partner of late and has really stepped up in my eyes. Also, we were very active this past summer with the road race. A lot of people just think of the road race as a lot of fun. It's a big activity. Come on in, Scott.
Oh, you
I
started.
just talked about it. It was all good.
Oh, I gotta sit in the front. Oh.
So the road race, means a lot to a lot of different people. It's a community event that people like to get involved with. The runners, obviously, it's great for them to participate, but it's a big undertaking, and it takes several months to get prepared on a public safety, side of things. Whereas the police and fire and even state assist through the Department of Fire Services all comes together, and this all goes on through many meetings with the road race organization, and it leads up to the August race, where we're prepared to not only support and assist the activities on the road race routes, but also to be taking care of incidences that occur in the town from just the large amount of people that are visiting us that weekend. We've set up a unified command system. We've been doing it over the last several years. The state provides rolling platforms for us, so we have very large command units that come down here. They provide other equipment to help support our activities, and we can put all of our public safety partners inside this command post and manage the any incident that's going on in town, and work with with everybody to try and ensure that we have a very safe race day. So that also, even though it may not be something that we talk about at the EOC level or on the LEPC side of things, but it's definitely emergency preparedness on our part, and this again, all this keeps us educated. The other issue or other instance of us being involved was that we conducted pre-storm preparations for some of the storms that we had over the August and September months. In particular, Henri, if that's how you say it, not Henry, but Henri. Henri, that's going to call him Henri now. So that particular storm brought about many discussions. I feel that there was a lot of preparation that was put into it over the course of several days, and one of our real big experts that was helping to consult with us is Frank O'Laughlin, who's done presentations here and is part of our local and regional preparedness, and he was able to really give us good tracking information and letting us know where he thought the impacts were going to be, and he monitors it a little better and kind of educates us on a more simplistic term when you're trying to understand what's going to be happening as the storm's approaching. As we all know, the storm didn't really impact us the way it was, and as all storms that affect New England, they take a left or a right or a direct path. But in this instance, it stayed away from us, and the impacts that we were expecting weren't what was being forecast. But we had all of our preparations in place, both police and fire, our DPW partners. We had several meetings here, and we partially activated our EOC so that the day of the storm, leading into the height of the storm, we had the EOC all ready to go, and we were ready to handle any emergency. and get the resources and support we needed in case it really did impact us. Thankfully, it didn't, but it was a good exercise as far as we were concerned, even though it was an actual event. But it didn't really bring us up to those levels that we had in the past with some blizzards and other storms. So that was it was a good, dust the cobwebs off event. Lastly, the Hurricane Ida remnants that came about beginning of September. That was also kind of a shocker for a lot of people because we had many tornado warnings, and if you didn't enjoy the sounds that came out of your phones, then you slept through it all. But that was a little bit of a shocker. I know I talked to a lot of people that actually went right into their basements as soon as they kept hearing those alerts. My phone just kept having that air raid siren going off, and fortunately, between the communications at DPW and the police department, we were just going back and forth, and we were able to just turn the television on, and nobody lost their power, so we were able to watch, how the tracks were and the potentials. But thankfully, Falmouth was spared. I think it did come a little close to us because it was coming over the Gosnell Islands, but if you went past the Quistit Lights, there was a lot of debris, not, like we've seen in other storms, but you can see all the leaves all over the place and a lot of rain effects. So there was a lot of spooling up that was going on with some of the weather that was coming through here. So it was a little bit of, a touch and go there, intimidating for a few hours until the tornado warnings passed. But we got a lot of rain, a lot of wind effects. It was a little more than Henri. Just the same, we were prepared, even though we didn't come in here to set anything up because it happened so quickly. But the same dialogue and the same communications tree was in place, and we were prepared should we have had to get together and get things going right away. Last thing is, a few of us, as part of the EOC staffing, are continually being educated. We've been going to classes. Myself and Lieutenant O'Malley went to an interface program, an ICS interface program for EOC operations. So we're fortunate that we have a lot of experts out there and real educated people that can kind of help, give us a different perspective from other incidences that have gone on either in the state or elsewhere, and then help to tie things together for us as we continue to look towards 2022 and what other events. And I guess right now, if anybody's watching your hurricane tracking, there's Hurricane Sam right now, which is approaching the Lesser Antilles Islands, and it might curve, but right now it's on a westward track. So, I hope it takes a right at some point because, I think I'm done with it, even though I don't want to see the snow come here. I think, just keep moving forward. So anyways, just again, I thank everybody for your participation. It's a good, strong showing, and we'll continue to get out the bulletins and let everybody know when our next meeting is going to be. And I greatly appreciate everybody's involvement to keep our community whole. So that being said, just wanted to introduce Ron Reed. Ron currently is the director of environmental health and safety down at Hui. Ron has been he's had to tolerate us for a long time, and I guess maybe in some instances we get to tolerate Ron. He's a high energy, got great ideas. He loves to educate, and we've been fortunate to have gone to drills and classes that he's put together and put us with all the other staff down at Hui. Great conversations. We've had good practical drills. He was just showing me one that they just had down there. So the things that sometimes that Hui can bring to the table for us, we would never be able to do. They have a great amount of institutional knowledge that they can help with us. And Ron's been very strong in that regard and has helped us over the years, and continue to share a great partnership. So I'm glad that he could be part of our LEPC, back on the road tour, and and provide some insight for us and give us a presentation today. So with that being said, Ron, it's all yours.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stand over here. So, hi everybody. I'm Ron Wright from Untitled Chapter, and pleased to present here. And it's been a good partnership with the Fire Rescue Department. Enjoyed the drills we've done. We'll still try to invite you to them. We forgot to invite you to one yesterday.
That looked fun.
we had a missing. I was telling the chief we had a missing diver incident that he remembers. And one thing when I was watching that with our facilities director, we were like, we need a way to get people out of the water quickly. And we actually came up with it, and it's too late for me to get the pictures in. But it's a rapidly deployable davit skid mount that we can move around with a fork truck. And we proof tested it to about 625 pounds, which is more than enough to lift our heaviest person. We tested it yesterday. We had 2 rescue swimmers. We have a mannequin that we splashed in that we have saturated to about 150 pounds. Worked great. And we've actually learned some things. We're going to modify it. It's nice having a fabrication shop right in the dock. We can just build whatever we want. In fact, they started working on it when I was talking out there. We're going to do some live drills now. We're going to train about a half dozen more rescue swimmers. So, pretty cool. So a little bit about what I'd like to talk about. Talk a little bit about the oceanographic, proactive safety management. Lessons learned. We do have mishaps. We have incidents. You wouldn't do what we do and not have things go wrong. We push the envelope. That's why my hair's so gray. Talk a little bit about lessons learned, and more importantly, what do we do with those lessons learned? We're always trying to integrate those back into the department, back into the programs, because we really don't want to keep making those mistakes. Our comprehensive emergency management plan, which I do share with town officials, drills and exercises. Talk a little bit about our COVID-19 response plan. So a little bit about the oceanographic. We're the world's largest leading independent nonprofit organization dedicated to ocean research. So we have scientists and engineers basically travel the globe, whether it's on our surface vessels. We have submarines. That's the Alvin picture there, older picture. And also we will deploy people all over the place, Antarctica, etc. And basically, it's a rather unique institution, fiercely independent, very innovative. We don't have a tool for what we need to do; we make it. It's never been done before. We figure out how to do it. So that's good and bad, by the way. Speaking as the safety director. So about 1,000 employees. About half are scientists and engineers. That's the bread and butter of our institution, our scientists and engineers. Facilities, shoreside campuses in Woods Hole. We got the Quissett campus, Village campus, and we're always building new buildings. We just put up the Quissett Research Facility, 50,000 square feet of new space, pretty awesome facility. And if the fire department would like a tour of that, let me know. I'd like to organize a tour, show you where we store our lithium batteries, things like that. I have a fire plan for those. I don't know if you agree with me. No.
We digress.
We work with a lot of lithium batteries. Global class research vessels. Atlantis just recently went through its midlife. Pretty cool. I think they literally break that thing in half and rebuild the whole thing. New engines, bow thrusters, everything. Pretty cool. Armstrong, Tioga 60-foot coastal vessel. We got some variety of small boats too. Human occupied submersible, Alvin. We have remote vehicles as well, and some towed vehicles. My little office, it is little. There's 4 FTEs, including me. We have a lab safety officer, safety and health officer. We have our administrative assistant, Georgie. We do have a field chemist that comes on site. We are a large quantity generator for hazardous waste. It's Triumph Environmental. They do a great job. And I have a great relationship with Mass Maritime. We hire a summer intern every summer. And great kids. Love those cadets. They do a great job. And we push them too with work. We make them earn that minimum wage. Here's our campuses. This is Village down here. Here's our dock facility. By the way, this is going to transform into a new waterfront facility. Starting to get involved with that. Quissit campus, Quissit North, and this is our largest campus, Quissit. And new building not shown is. I don't know, we need to find the donors so we can get a name on that, but it's right now, it's Quissit Research Facility. So if you want your name on it, though, I might need to donate $10 million. I don't know what it takes to get a name on a building, but so a few pictures here, large buoy for deployment, Remus vehicles. So, we do work for the Navy. I think those are the vehicles that found Air France flight, and we found it too quickly, I heard. We didn't make enough money on that project. That's how good they are. One of our scientists coming out of a volcano. He's no longer with us. Dr. Sims, great guy. We equipped him with proper respirators. Hydrogen sulfide was what we were worried about. Shot of the Alvin, and of course, our shoreside facilities. I don't know how many square feet of laboratory space we have. I've lost track of it.
Millions.
Yeah, lots. So what size crane do you need to lift a 270-foot ship? A big one. So this is a cool shot. I found it in the archives. But that's the Nor. The Nor is currently owned by the Mexican Navy. An ounce of prevention, Ben Franklin, beats a pound of cure. Legacy chemicals, time-sensitive chemicals, hazardous atmospheres, chemical inventory and labeling, comprehensive safety programs, and training. So this is a picric acid, hazardous waste contractor bomb suit, inert device here. Basically, picric acid, when it becomes dried, a pound of it is the equivalent of a stick of dynamite, shock sensitive. When I came to Hui about 20 years ago, there was a lot of weird things there, and I didn't think I was actually going to make it. But I came from the national labs. But these were some of the things I found from people's labs. Nice people, but just kind of forgetting about what they've been storing for years. So, but also we had a number of confined spaces. So we wanted to get these things under control, check them out, check the atmospheres, develop a whole permit required confined space program, also do drills. Fire department assisted us with some of those drills, extricating people with like our SCED device, things like that. Accident incident management. Never waste a crisis, Winston Churchill. And I say never waste a near-miss crisis. We do have near misses. We have a near-miss reporting form now. So we want everyone to report accidents, and we also ask them to report near misses. And that's starting to happen. If you can manage your near misses, you will have less accidents. I'm convinced of it. But it's an online reporting system, goes out to a number of us. We get right out there and investigate these things, whether it's OSHA recordable, it's a spill or whatever, and we want to prevent reoccurrence. We also do a quarterly accident incident and performance management report. We set ourselves goals we try to beat, whether it's hazardous waste we want to reduce, number of accidents, injuries, vehicle accidents. Some of our fixed systems that we have, these may have led to some false alarms too. I apologize in the future too. We have a number of gases. Some can be simple asphyxiants like nitrogen. We We also have carbon monoxide, believe it or not, compressed gas. We have those in toxic gas cabinets, which are interlocked with ventilation systems and alarms. But my team maintains these, calibrates them, and the sensors seem to always be failing. I think it's a conspiracy with the manufacturers; they're expensive. But in any event, we do set these things up. They're true life safety devices. We also have we have about 8 of the handheld 4-gas meters and some more sophisticated stuff that we can also take into the field if there's an emergency. Our comprehensive emergency management plan, this is kind of a comprehensive document that describes pretty much all the scenarios we have and could experience. And in fact, tornadoes, you name it, is in there. Earthquakes are not in there. I'm struggling with that one. But I guess someday, if I have to, I'll put earthquakes in. Emergency coordinators on one of them. Brian's another one. Brian's our assistant director of facilities. But there's a number of us. We're trained in hazmat. We get the OSHA HAZWOPER training. We have our senior management officials like my boss, VP level. Management command center we have. That's just a fancy way of pulling together the executives. And that can be virtual, it can be in a room, it can be over the phone, it can be over, Zoom, whatever you want to call it. It's basically a scenario-based response plan. We have building emergency plans, assembly points. We did learn about a month after I started, we had that Clark fire that led to a $10 million loss. I think, Chief, you were there. That was a pretty scary fire. It was a month after I started at Hui, and that led to an incredible amount of improvements. But one of them was when you evacuate the building, don't just take off or go anywhere you want or walk around the building. Go to one place, because if something's going on, we want all the intelligence at one point. We want to be able to communicate with police, fire, all that kind of stuff. Pretty basic stuff, right? But unless you train on it, unless you get it into plans, people don't do it. Alternative shelters, designated emergency equipment and locations. In our plan, we basically say where our spill kits are, where our emergency equipment is, evacuation chairs. So if you're in Clark, for example, and you've got the CEMP, or I call the switchboard and I say, tell me where all my spill kits are, I need 5 of them. They can tell me, and I can tell people, go get them and bring them to me. We've had to do that. More about the CEMP, of course, roles and responsibilities, communication. We do have an Omni alert system. This is a durable communication system. If our systems go down at Hui, whether we're hacked or it's just a catastrophic severe weather scenario, a tornado actually touches down and removes Clark or the switchboard, we can actually still communicate with this system. It's hosted third-party off-site. So we can text, we can email, and we can do phone calls with this system. So we pay for that. Our management command center, evacuation, fires, medical, violence, bomb threats. We have experienced all these. This is an example of our building emergency diagrams. So we put these in all of our buildings. So for the new building, we actually tasked our Mass Maritime intern with doing this, and she created some nice graphics. But this will tell you at your basic egress points from the building. These would be posted, near doors. Where emergency equipment is, where you would assemble. This looks like Smith, so this would be down in the village. So all of our buildings would have these. We also do evacuation drills. So we test people on this. Evacuation drills are coming up. The lab fire I was talking about is the infamous UPS. So this was an interesting fire. These are some shots from the fire. What was interesting about this was the scientist that was involved with this tried to put the fire out, couldn't put it out, went and got another extinguisher and tried to put it out again. And finally somebody grabbed him. I was at home. This was late, and I don't know what time I arrived at, but it was the evening, 10 or something at night. I don't know. It was late. So we do a fire extinguisher training now, and we tell people after one extinguisher, if you're trained, after one extinguisher, get out and never let the fire get between you and an exit. But another interesting thing here was we couldn't isolate the equipment that was burning from the UPS, so it kept juicing it. And this caused a lot of confusion and ultimately led to the fire department shutting down the entire building. And I don't blame the fire department for doing that, but it was a disaster for us because we have hoods with toxic materials in them. So we learned a huge lesson, and we put shutoffs out in the hall now. And I hope I have a picture of that. I do. So for our larger equipment, 240 and up, we have outside shutoffs, which will completely isolate and shut down those labs. This is, we call this a space hazard placard. We require this on the doors. I do remember, I don't know if it was a fire or smoke event. Fire department responded, I responded, it was in the McLean building. And I don't know who was there, but they said, we're not going in until you tell us what's in there. And I didn't have these in place at the time. But I was able to call and wake up the PI, which I actually enjoyed doing. We got him to respond and tell us what's in this lab. But this is another thing we learned, but these are now posted on all the doors. This is going to tell you pretty much what's going to bite you, what's in that lab. Of course, we like to have our safety data sheets outside of the lab if something's going on. More CEMP sections, suspicious package, hazardous material incident, severe weather, public health emergency. This has been revised since COVID-19. Incident scene security, recovery restoration, response critique, incident investigation. Hurricane procedure. So we, Andre was actually, we spent a lot of money getting ready for Andre. That was probably 3 days, each day getting more and more intense. But we did it. Literally, you're talking about unplugging, moving things to higher ground. I mean, just lots of overtime too, right? So we go from a condition we go from a condition, let's see, from a 1 to a 4. So I don't know where we got with Andre, but we didn't get to the bitter end, obviously. We realized that probably late into Saturday that it was like this was just a training exercise. Recently had an incident, and I was able to add it to the presentation. This is my guy, Dan, actually a Mass Maritime graduate. He's got a Tychem suit on with a full face respirator. We got a call from a lab that there was a spill. Actually the handle broke off, and I am working with this manufacturer. But it fell to the ground and cracked, hard to see that crack, it's cracked there, and it spilled out, concentrated nitric. And the lab basically activated our system, called our 2911 number, which goes to our switchboard, and we responded, cleaned it up with our neutralizer. Everything went good. Building emergency kits, so that would be a spill kit, first aid, mercury, and if you were to open one of these up, these are for relatively small spills. We have larger spill kits. And if it really gets out of hand, I have 3 contractors lined up that can come in with level A or level B protection. So this could handle organics, caustics, and acids, pH testing, and all the debris would be managed as hazardous waste. Emergency drills. So this was a high-angle rescue drill that we did with the Falmouth Fire Rescue Department. And you guys brought the hose dummy. That thing's heavy, I recall.
Yes.
Yeah, and so that was pretty cool. We do put people in harnesses, so this could happen. We do have a fair amount of rescue equipment for high-angle rescue. We like doing tabletop drills. We like doing field drills. We like doing drills at all levels, right up to the president. And we like inviting people to our drills too. Hospital, Falmouth Fire, police. We've had active shooter drills. One thing that's interesting for those of you that might put your people in harnesses, I just want you to be aware of something called suspension trauma. If you fall into a harness, you're going to lose blood flow rapidly. And people have died in these. You can die within 15 minutes in a harness. So what you really want is this thing called a step relief device. But you want two of them. And you want to crisscross them, because if you don't crisscross them, you might be doing a split. But basically, you just deploy those stirrups, and then you stand, and then all the weight is on your feet, not on that. What's the artery? Carotid. I'm sorry. I'm not an anatomy guy. I'm a physics guy. So drills, making our drills challenging and fun. So here's our rescue drill. Joe Denick.
Oh my gosh.
Love that guy. And in any event, this is doing a rescue drill in one of our confined spaces with assistance from Falmouth Fire Rescue. There's our sked device. This thing's pretty cool. Once you wrap that up, roll it up, and package the patient, you can pull this thing through anything, and it'll basically keep them immobilized. And it gets the person through a pretty small space. We assisted Falmouth Fire Rescue with the mass decoy. That's on our softball field. Boom before refueling. Oh, we do this now. This makes sense, right? So yeah, and we also practice deploying the boom. We're trying to figure out now how to get that boom back. It's a bear. It's heavy. It's just, so we're figuring that out. We're going to spend some money on a mechanized boom deployment and recovery system, and that might be integrated into that new waterfront facility. So here it is. I don't have the pictures of the drill though, but this thing's pretty cool. So it's a davit system mounted on a plate with some fork tubes, and so you push this right up to the cap log, swing that out. This thing will extend, and we can do a rescue from any point of our dock. And we actually did that yesterday. It worked great. Challenging tabletop drills. Hurricane with high water, active shooter, significant hydrofluoric acid skin burn. We got some interesting chemicals. So it's good to do those kind of drills. Perhaps I should think about scheduling a drill like that, and invite a number of folks again. Radioactive spill with injury. ESNH training. Pre-COVID, we had a fair amount of classroom trainings, online trainings, and ad hoc, over 3 dozen ESNH modules that we have. We also have a cloud-based ESNH training management system. We can track the training of 1,000 people. Some folks have a dozen modules that they're interested in, and it sends email reminders, tracks their attendance. Really cool system. We get audited by the Department of Environmental Protection, the Regulatory Commission, and they're like, show us your training. And we say, okay, who and how many people, what do you want to see? And they usually love it when they see that. Post-COVID, we've pretty much gone to online virtual training. I did do a fork truck driving test today. That's, but I don't know when we'll get back to classroom training. Just like to go online. A little more about that training management system. This truly is a game changer. Tracking the training records, sends out reminders. Quarterly reports are sent to supervisors. So it basically says, this is the training status of your people. So not everybody remembers to get trained, but that's a good way to poke people. We recently did a portable fire extinguisher training. We have a little grill that we light up, and people put the fire out. It's pretty cool. Battery pack safety. That is actually a battery pack that exploded. One of our hard hats, ocean bottom seismometer. Pretty scary. No one was injured. It exploded on the fantail of a vessel. But that was probably 15 years ago. That led me to create a full-blown lithium battery safety program. Put it on the website. What was really interesting is I also visited our battery manufacturers to learn about lithium batteries, the technology and stuff. But what was kind of interesting was, I don't know when this was, about 4 years ago, a Formula One race car company called me and said, "Can we use your lithium battery safety program?" I thought that was pretty cool. And then I also heard that our program is used by the entire UNO suite now. But we do not let people. We removed our Class D extinguishers. We thought they were cool at the time. They're not cool. We've learned that you got to get way too close to these things to put them out. Plus, if this is my battery pack, you actually have to surround it with the Class D extinguishing agent, Lithium it's called. You can't actually do it without touching it, right? Because I've got a big surface that's basically burning. So, and these things can off gas, they can explode, they can get very hot. So now what we say is, do not try to put it out, pull the alarm, call the family fire rescue. So what we're hoping is to protect our buildings, let those cells burn out, put some water on them, but protect our building. So lithium batteries are going to pretty much burn themselves out. What we also do now with our lithium batteries is we store them in detached structures. We don't like to store large quantities inside occupied buildings. So we put them in our metal sealant containers, set them back 35 feet, and I think those are also alarmed. So
Have you seen the things they use on planes? They have like it looks almost like your briefcase, but it has a pad in it with the Class D stuff. They put it on top of whatever's burning. They let it burn through, and then before they put it down, they have basically a wrap that wraps up the battery after it melts through this Class D extinguisher, and it goes into like a briefcase with the same product all surrounding it.
our procedure, like
technology.
on our vessels,
Yeah.
which is kind of like being on an airplane.
Yeah.
You got to deal with it, or you're gonna die.
Yeah.
We basically, the fire brigade will just put a hose stream on it.
Yeah.
And we'll just lower the temperature so that you stop that exothermic reaction,
Right.
that chain reaction, and that usually works.
And it's the lithium ion battery. They're not lithium metal.
We have
battery.
both.
You
The
have both?
lithium ion is rechargeable, as you know,
Right, yeah.
and then we have the primaries. We have both.
Okay.
The one that's much more dangerous is the non-rechargeable.
Yeah, the metals.
Much more dangerous.
Yeah.
For sure. Much higher energy density. We've experienced all failure modes, and we definitely try to learn from them. We've developed programs in collaboration with the WHOI engineers. We've put so much energy into this and effort. We actually published it. The program was also published. So definitely try to take that serious. We have a whole lithium battery safety training program for our engineers. Spent lithium batteries can be hazardous. We ask folks when they're done with these things to take the leaves, be gentle with when they put them into the drum. My office disposes of them through our licensed hazardous waste contractor. This was a buoy that exploded. This was not lithium batteries; it was lead acid batteries. Can you see the before and after on that? What happened was it was an abusive charging profile that was being used, and it was generating copious amounts of hydrogen. All lead acid batteries and alkaline batteries will generate hydrogen gas. Lead acid batteries are rechargeable. Alkalines, of course, are not. But under abusive conditions, they will generate hydrogen. And if you have enough of them, and you have an enclosed space, guess what? And an ignition source. So yeah, that's what we had. We obviously learned from that. That went all the way up to National Science Department, our funding source, and we had to implement corrective actions on that one. COVID-19, February 2020, we had a tabletop exercise. Our president at the time basically said, I don't know, he was like, something's coming here. And I don't know what, and I don't know what it's going to look like, but he asked me to put together a tabletop exercise with the top leadership, and we basically did. And we prepared ourselves for an extended remote work. We identified essential on-site personnel. My group, facilities were identified as essential. We never stopped working during this thing. Did a basic hazard assessment. developed infection controls, and then we ultimately implemented a phased reopening. It's just one little thing that became very popular that I did. This is a smoke, an air current tube that generates a non-toxic smoke. And I would go in and check spaces out because people were like, where can I stand? Like, I don't want to be breathing his air. Where's air moving around in my space? And this thing was very nice. It was visual, you could see it. But I spent a lot of time going into people's spaces, checking them out, and trying to visualize air current. And in addition to that, we also implemented a number of controls, UV, germicidal irradiation in our ductwork. We increased our filtration from like MERV 8 filters to like MERV 13, unless it blew out the fan motor, etc. We also added partitions to a number of our conference tables. These became popular and they do work. And then we also put in window fan units just in where we could to increase air exchange rate. By the way, we have had no workplace spread. Pretty remarkable. We have had some cases, but it was mostly people that were out in the field on Navy work, working with a lot of people, and they got infected out in the field. But we've had no workplace spread on our campuses in Woodstock. There's that MERV 13 that Brian was talking about. There's a shot. This is probably downstream of the air handling unit. That's the UV germicidal irradiation. So UV light. I didn't go 45 minutes. Sorry. So, any questions? Yes.
So you got a lot of methyl ethyl death and other kinds of chemicals. Do you guys keep like a real time manifest of where all the chemicals are?
Yes, we have.
So like when the chief comes and he knows he got that scientist just ordered 10 gallons of something highly like nasty, you guys would know it.
We don't order that much.
I know. I hope not. But I'm just saying.
And we don't order.
So you would know every lab.
Yeah.
So you have inventories, an active inventory like management system.
Yes, we do. We have a cloud-based chemical management system, and in fact, our summer intern is working on that as well. But yeah, every lab is required to enter their chemical inventory into this inventory system. We pay. I don't know what I pay. About 10, 15 grand a year for this service, but it's hosted by a vendor called Velocity EHS, and also associated with that are safety data sheets. And then not only that, we require that they print out the safety data sheet, because if someone has a chemical exposure, I'm not logging on a computer and trying to find this thing. I'm going to open up that binder, I'm going to rip that sheet out and go to the emergency room with it. And that's what we tell our people. So yes, we do have that. That's a good question. Getting the scientists to do it and keep it updated, I have to bribe them, poke them, threaten them. Most of them are reasonable, but some of them, we have to do a lot of hand-holding.
Is that because they're too busy, or is it because they just don't?
Too busy. They care, but some of them are just so stressed out. Just bringing in the money, right? It's our funding is not guaranteed. We have to win our grants, every single grant. I mean, it's all blood, sweat, and tears. So the scientists are stressed out trying to bring in money. No funding is guaranteed for us. So I try to be empathetic, try to work with them. That's why we have our intern, and she's helping them out too, to make that inventory more accurate. Plus, we do inspections of all of our labs annually. We're in our labs, inspecting them and checking on their training, checking the chemicals, etc.
So you're the least popular person on campus. I'm just kidding.
Depends. Sometimes I'm loved. Sometimes
Well, I'm a
I'm
health
hated.
inspector, so I get it on that.
Well,
I'm not that cool.
I'm loved when they call me and they say I just spilled a gallon of nitric acid. But then I'm not so much loved when I show up and start poking them because they're not doing what they need to be doing. But it doesn't matter to me. I've grown thick skin. So I've learned that I don't go to work to get thanked, but If it's silent, I'm doing my job. If they're not saying anything, I realize that they're cooperating, they're okay with it. But yeah, there's no thank yous. So
Speaking to Scott's question about your quantities, also, can you talk about the fact, or just reiterate that you aren't a tier 2 reporter because those quantities?
Yeah. The reason we're not for our laboratories in that category is because we have small quantities in separate fire spaces. So each lab is basically, these are like 2-hour fire rated spaces, with cement walls, thick doors, and they're relatively small quantities of chemicals. So 4 liters of this, 100 mils of this, but they're all separate spaces. It's not like we have these 1,000-gallon tanks of I don't know what that chemical, Scott, that you
Methyl ethyl death.
Yeah.
We don't have copious amounts of this stuff. We're not a chemical manufacturing facility. We're just a user. And we do practice, and I drill it into the training, just-in-time ordering process. How much do you need? How much are you going to use within the next 6 months? I absolutely can't stand it when they stockpile.
But
So,
can I ask a question on that? Since the pandemic, you can't buy a car right now because there's no chips, and they're having a problem with the chemicals. Are you having a trouble with that? The quantity's low because you might have to drive it when you can't. Have you found that to be a problem the past year?
no. We haven't seen a problem with ordering chemicals.
Everything else is.
I'm not aware of I think it's because the computer chip is not probably related to.
Well, there's a lot of inventory shortages everywhere. I was just curious if you're having trouble getting some of the stuff. And
I haven't heard.
then what will lead scientists to do is stockpile it. I'm not telling you.
Well, the other thing that works against stockpiling is all the scientists are pack rats. And so they really don't have a lot of space. They literally don't. So, and we don't give them more space. So they can't really stockpile. So, and we're in those labs when we start.
So they're in their garages. They bring them home. I'm just thinking like a scientist. I'm just going to grind the 10 gallons. I'll bring it home.
Scott, I think I need to give you a tour.
I appreciate it.
I will.
I know
It's open door policy.
Just curious.
Are the chemicals changing regularly, or most of the chemicals? Because it's consistently the same that is at the campus.
Pretty much the same chemicals are used. The protocols don't change much. It's the same set of chemicals.
All right. And then each chemical is individually stored by type.
Yep, inventory. And of course minimize the quantity. The nastiest chemicals, the most hazardous chemicals, with an NFPA rating of 4, we make them write a protocol. And if they don't, it becomes a finding and gets elevated to department chair and then director of research. But for example, hydrazine, which is jet fuel, we do some work with that. We don't have large quantities of it. Hydrofluoric acid. A few others.
What's the concentration?
Mercuric chloride. But what we do is, with this protocol, is we help them write it because we have templates. But it's how you safely use it. Everything. How you protect yourself, proper protocols, incompatibilities, emergency response stuff. And then we make them, we put a signature block on the bottom. We make everyone sign it. I read and I understand this protocol. They have to do that. It has to be posted in the work area. So we do that for the highest level chemicals that we have.
Nice.
Yeah. I'd be happy to show anybody that too. Happy to give tours.
The buoy that blew up, did they develop a vetting system for that afterwards?
They changed the charging profile, and yes, they invented that. Yeah. Yep. It was the charging profile that really was the problem, but also inadequate venting was a contributing factor.
So they're overcharging.
It was an abusive charge profile, trying to charge it too quickly.
Drying them up. Is that what happens? The water gets low, or
Abusive charging profile. Too much voltage, too short a time. That's the definition of use of charging. Yeah, trying to work too fast.
Just my 2 cents, being here for 30 some years, I've been down to plenty of incidences down on different parts of Bowie, and Ron has been very helpful or present. And it's good for us because we're not intimately knowledgeable about their spaces. And I know after the fire at Quissit, they did change everything to the outside because, being inside that lab with the amount of energy that was going on, it was a little disconcerting. You could feel it humming when you were down in there. There was so much smoke that you had to be very careful with the amount of energy that was coming through there. And we couldn't ventilate. We had to take out one of those big plate glass windows, and that kind of contributed to it. But eventually, we were able to kill the power. But as Ron said, it did create problems all over the other floors that we were dealing with. But we've also had metal fires out in the dumpsters. We've had gas leaks. We've had fires in the labs on Water Street as well. And but the one thing, the take home for us is that because in the fire service we're very active in putting our command posts together and running through our incident command systems. We can have a PD show up. We can have anybody from Bowie joining us as well, and we can manage the incident. Because I'm going to defer to any of the employees at Bowie to advise us on what's going on, and then we can in turn work with the police department if we had to evacuate or keep people away. And you can imagine for us at past incidences, we got Water Street or MBL Street. It's very active down there. We had a 2-alarm fire down at the MBL up on the roof. That was on a weekend. That was certainly pretty hectic for us, and it was besides being hot out. But again, that area is ripe for problems just because there's a lot of things going on, and we've been very fortunate over the years also to have a good educational component, and we've been able to go through all the buildings. But a lot of us that have been through the buildings, some of us aren't here anymore. Some have retired, but it's good to take an opportunity for the fire service and go down there to take a walk around. If Ron has a few extra minutes, to give you a little bit of information. So,
be happy to set up a tour. Kim, you want to reach out when you guys are ready, and we can coordinate some dates. Be happy to give a tour of our campuses, our buildings, whatever you'd like.
Do it as a field trip for the LAPC members.
Yeah, people forget. Besides the fact that Bowie employs as many personnel as they do, but the influx of people in and out of Woods Hole just going down to the steamship adds to that problem if there was ever a big incident down there. So, for us, we have to be very cognizant of that. We're dealing with it, and a lot of things that happen at once. So, again, I'm glad that everybody's so active down there and ready to assist, and we can kind of minimize it or to kind of mitigate it in circumstances that'll kind of keep it isolated. So, we're very grateful for all the work. So, thanks very much, Ron, for joining us. And anything else for the good of the group? Anybody has anything to pass along? Comments, questions, concerns? Any more for Ron? Ron can do stand up all day for us as well. He's awesome. So I thank Ron. So Kim, our next meeting
Next month.
Whatever date it is, there is a date attached to it. So we'll see you then, unless anybody else has anything they wish to pass along. I thank you for getting the group back together, the band back together. So thank you and have a great day. Bye.